No dog sold or raised for illegal purposes. This is a historical and entertainment-based channel. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey. Episode 34, come on, let's go now. Yeah. The potency and legacy of the hardcore dog. Little Gator and Doc Holliday, who's your daddy? The Dunning-Kruger effect in Bulldog.
Let us analyze the evidence on this episode of Bulldog Court. Bulldog community, please rise. This is your host, Gator James, because we got to get a hold of the game.
Court is now in session.
Oh, hell yeah, man. Man, we back in the game again. Shout it. With another episode of Bulldog Court. This is your host, Gator James, because we got to get a hold of the game. You underdig. I'd like to thank everybody for joining me tonight. You could have been anywhere else in the Bulldog streets, but you decided to come kick it with your boy. And I'm so happy that you did. You underdig. Let me go ahead and get this out of the way before I forget. I am not the judge nor jury, for it is up to you, the Bulldog community, to decide which way the tide may roll. I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on last week's episode and then the after show where we discussed everything. I'd like to thank everybody. You kicked it with your boy hard last week, and I'm so appreciative of that as we talked about those cases. Shout out to J-Bo from Bulldogging with Bo on Dogman TV for coming in as a special guest. But for tonight, we're not going to prolong the time. We're going to get right into it. We're going to get right into our first case. And for our first case, the potency and legacy of the hardcore dogs. Let us look into this. I know a couple of episodes ago, I did a show on Terrence Bruiser and Terrence Travis. Two of the better stud dogs in history that are of the Red Boy Jocko Jeep Cross. And I have done a show previously, maybe touching on the Jumbo dog overseas and how much he produced. Also a Red Boy Jocko Jeep Cross dog. But no kennel that I can remember in the bowels of history has done it better, did it better back then than the hardcore kennels, than the hardcore dogs. These dogs and that kennel were bar none at going all the way live balls to the walls when it came to this cross. They lived, died, breathed, or whatever you want to call it, by this cross. I made a video about it. Like to hear it? Here it go.
For this case, we will cover the hardcore legacy. In a previous case, we covered Terrence Travis and Terrence Bruiser and the Red Boy Jocko Jeep Cross. Hardcore rightfully deserves their own case because there is no one kennel, to my knowledge, that has been more successful with this cross than hardcore kennels. Hardcore kennels can really be summed up by highlighting 4 brood matrons. Well, really 2, but we will discuss 4. Hardcore's Breaker, Hardcore's Pepsi, Hardcore's Felony, and Hardcore's Snowball. These females produced a bulk of the winners for this kennel. Hardcore had at least 13 champions and 1 grand champion. On top of that, they had 2 Sporting Dog Journal Dog of the Year. Most kennels never have a dog of that caliber to make Dog of the Year, much less 2. Not only did hardcore dogs perform, but they also produce. For example, Hardcore's Felony is a producer of record that produced at least 4 other producers of record. I could compile a list that would take the rest of this show to read of all the winners that Hardcore Kennels has produced. Can you name a kennel that has more success with a 3-way cross than Hardcore? Let us discuss.
After hearing the video and hearing all of the success of this kennel, You know, it's a lot more to this. I left off Bamboo, who was sold overseas, 2-time winner Bamboo. It's many more animals that they had, but these are just some of the ones, just to give you an inkling into the caliber of animals that they had. You know, and not a lot of people, maybe Southern Kennels is maybe the only kennel that I can remember who actually had 2 dogs that came, that were bred and came from their kennel. You know, I know, Mayday is one. And then, Latin Force had Barracuda during the time when he, became Dog of the Year. But I believe that dog also too was bred by Southern Kennels, if I'm not mistaken. And so, just those 2 are the only 2 that come to my mind, man. Most kennels that are A1 kennels do not get, not even 1 Dog of the Year, like I said in the video. Much less 2, man. And I had to come forth with this, if nothing else, but, you know, to bring forth credit and flowers to the Hardcore Kennels and that whole crew of what they were able to accomplish with those brood females. Now, can you think of someone else? Maybe someone is skipping my mind at the moment. Can you think of someone else that may have accomplished what they accomplished with that 3-way cross? Like I said, quite frankly, I can't think of anybody better than Hardcore Kennels when it comes to this. Salute to those guys if they're, you know, some may still be out in the world, and, you know, just a salute to them as far as what they were able to do in history. I'm just gonna leave it right here. I'm gonna give the audience, you know, give the Bulldog community a chance to do their due diligence to look into further into the hardcore dogs. I don't really know where the hardcore dogs have gone, and, you know, in present day, I don't know if there are even very many of those hardcore dogs still intact, you know, left. I know maybe they were crossed out and stuff like that, but for the most part, this is just to salute them, bring forth this case of yet another one of the top, you know, kennels of that era. But like I said, this is what we're doing on tonight's show. We can just reviewing this and giving the Bulldog community the opportunity to check this out and look at the production and the producing power of the Red Boy Jocko Jeep, you know, cross, or yellow Jeep cross, if you want to even go even more specific. So, for the case of the producing power and the legacy of Hardcore Kennels, this case is now dismissed.
We'll get back to the show after these important messages.
Add these reading materials to your historical literature collection of the American Pit Bull Terrier. The Big Red Handbook, Family Bred and Raised, Dogs, Dogmen, and Bloodlines, and the Schoolboy Keep. Contact Richard Schoolboy Garcia on Messenger and purchase your part of history today.
Oh yeah. And now for my second case. Little Gator and Doc Holliday. Who's your daddy? Let us get into this. Man. This has been a long, ongoing controversy. This is one of these ones in the Bulldog community. This source of controversy concerning the Little Gator dogs. Now, this is nothing new. This has been from the beginning. For many years, as long as I can remember. So, at least 30 years or 32 years or somewhat, in Bulldogs, maybe 35. But this question about who is the true sire of Gardner's Little Gator, and his little mates, you know, Doc Holliday, you know, Crumb's China Boy, Harris's Buddy Boy, who else? It's one more, I can't remember. But
of these little mates. Now the pedigree says they're supposed to be off of Grand Champion Spike, but I don't think anybody really believed that from the get-go. It was pretty much the consensus that, and a story was told, especially concerning Doc Holliday, that Tom left somebody in charge to give this person the puppy. He reached in the yard guy reached in the wrong cage, gave him a dog that was supposed to be off of Chinaman, and then gave him that dog when he actually had paid for a dog off of Grand Champion Spike, but ended up with a puppy off of Champion Chinaman. And so that was always the long ongoing story up until recently. And this that's the story kind of most people believe. I don't think anybody really, some people might have still believed that it was Spike, and some people was like, well, that's Doc Holliday. That doesn't say anything about, little Gator. But up until recently, and I did not get a chance to ask Bill about this, but I was on, inside of the chat room of, Fat TV, shout out Fat Bill, and these are the things that somebody was talking about. Lil Gator came up and they was talking about the Chinaman story, and he said, no, that's not true. He's out of this dog. So I made a video about it. Like to hear it? Here it go.
For this next case, we will take a look at the controversy surrounding the pedigree of Little Gator and his litter mates. For some time, people have speculated about Little Gator, Doc Holliday, and the rest of this litter being out of Chinaman rather than Spike. But there is another story that has surfaced about these dogs potentially being off of Snake Man's Pedro. Pedro was one of the stud dogs out of the outstanding lineup of dogs at that time. Champion Chinaman, Grand Champion Spike, and Grand Champion Pedro were a part of this lineup, with females like Champion Missy, who would produce Garner's Travis, or better known as Rocca's Stonewall, during this time period. Still to this day, there are descendants of that legendary stud lineup today, except one, Pedro. Why is this? Did something happen with Pedro to where the owner wanted this dog erased from his yard? Was Pedro's desirable traits no longer desirable? Or was it something else?
Okay, so now that we heard the video, what do you guys think? Never mind what I think. What do you guys think? But I just know that in that episode of Fat TV live, Blero, in that episode, he was talking, and he said that dog was off of Pedro. Those dogs were off of Grand Champion Pedro, which can be within reason because he was on the yard during that time. And he said something I thought was key, was he wanted to erase Pedro from anything on his yard, from the pedigrees. He wanted to erase him off his yard. Now, I don't know what happened, and that's the point I wanted to be able to actually call Bill and ask him what did he mean by this, and what was the reasoning, if you would like to tell, of why TG will want to erase Pedro from out of the pedigrees, erase him off that yard. Was it something bad that he seen? Was it bad signs or traits or characteristics that he saw? Was it in fact a cover-up? Oh yeah, I did say that. I said that. And he wanted this dog to be erased from memory, but not erased from the yard, but erased from memory on his yard. That if you were not of a certain time period in a certain era, you wouldn't even remember that Pedro was even on that yard. You understand what I'm saying? Because that might be the secret sauce. A lot of people have taken the Carver recipe
in dogs and sales, and in so many cases, rightfully so. I'll sell you the cake, but I'll never sell you the recipe. You understand me? I never sell you the recipe. Because if I give you the recipe, what you need me for? You can make your own cakes now. You don't need to come buy my cake. Well, if I got $2,000 cakes, you surely ain't gonna come to buy my cakes. But if you can't get it right, you can't get right, dog man. You can't get right. You can't figure it out. Then you're gonna have to come by with me to get what I got. Cause you can't figure it out by looking at that pedigree paper. Cause with everything that you see might be there, and some stuff that you don't see might be there also. Some of the stuff you're looking at, that might not be nowhere in that pedigree. And that's the point of good dog, not great pedigree. You see what I'm saying? The cake, not the recipe. But never mind what I think. Never mind the theories. I'm just, throwing out some formats of theories of what possibly could. All this could possibly be wrong. Wronger than two left shoes. All I'm saying is, what do you guys think? Please leave your comments. I look forward to seeing them. Hopefully I will be able to do a live, depending on where I am in America. Sometimes I might be driving or whatever, so I can't do a live at the moment to go into the chat and listen to the comments. If not, please leave your comments. Express yourself. Fingers move quickly across the keyboard. Do your thing. But for the case of Little Gator, Doc Holliday, man, who's your daddy? This case is now dismissed. Yeah. And for my third and final case, the Dunning-Kruger effect in Bulldogs. I know people are like, man, what the hell is that? Well, you probably heard of imposter syndrome. Some people maybe never heard of imposter syndrome. When a person kind of like belongs, you know what I'm saying? I've seen it when people talk about imposter syndrome in the celebrity world or entertainment world. These guys had new up and coming actors, you know what I'm saying, and they had done great work in the industry very quickly and early on in their careers, and they got invited to this party, man. Not one of them other kind of parties, but just a celebrity party. People can mingle with other stars, and they kind of felt out of place, like they didn't belong. And guess who they bumped into? Denzel. And guess what? He recognized that they had imposter syndrome because they were standing on the side, like in the cut, trying to hold up the wall, as some people would say in the party, He told them, hey man, it's okay. Y'all can come and talk to us and come and be amongst us. Y'all belong. You belong here. Let them know it's okay. Y'all in this room because y'all supposed to be in this room. You are not an imposter. You the real deal or you wouldn't be invited. And then you have the complete polar opposite of that. When these people in the room, in the community, etc., and you know what? I made a video about it. Like to hear it go.
For this case, we will look at a syndrome that can happen in human beings in all walks of life. We will try to first frame this in the Bulldog world. There is a such thing as imposter syndrome. This is where a person can feel like a fraud, or they don't belong in a particular group, social class, or organization, etc., but they really do qualify and have the skills to not only belong, but to excel. The polar opposite of this is called the Dunning-Kruger effect. This is the definition. The Dunning-Kruger effect refers to a cognitive bias in which a person has excessive confidence in their abilities, but their actual skills don't match up to their self-perception. It's often presented as the polar opposite of imposter syndrome. Tonight, we will address this in the Bulldog world, and also to propose this question to the community. Are you suffering from the Dunning-Kruger effect in dogs? Have you come across a fellow dog man or woman that is overconfident or even delusional about their dogs or their place in the Bulldog community or history books? Is there just too much cap in the Bulldog community? Let us discuss.
Okay, now, I tried to break it down as much as I possibly could with that video. Definitions of this, definitions of that. What do this mean? What do that mean? Just in case people come and say, man, get a hold. Man, come on, dog. Come on now, dog. Come on, man. Ain't nobody got no time. Did you take psychology classes while you on the road? I'm saying, but I be thinking there's really, we need some psychologists in the Bulldog world, because I think something is wrong with people who have this, delusional view of themselves in the Bulldog community, and especially in history. Now, this is nothing new. This is nothing new in Bulldogs as well as in the world. These are things that are human characteristics or human flaws. Well, on both ends of the spectrum, where a person can feel as though they got an overinflated ego, or they feeling like they much more than what they really are. They feeling like, hey, I was one of the baddest dog men in the era I was in. Ain't nobody, but I wasn't bigger than them. And get what? And you will never have a dog bad as mine. And my dog is one of the baddest dogs ever lived. You know what I'm saying? I had one of the baddest dogs in the world. You been around the world, bro? You born in Istanbul, bro? They Bulldog in Istanbul. Philippines, bro? So how can you truly say, oh, okay then, cap, okay. You ain't never been all deep, okay, cap, you know what I'm saying? Okay. You ever been into such and such? Did you go into those guys or those guys? Well, I was standing next to them, so I felt like I was a part of what they was a part of, because I was in the room with them and I was standing, wait. Did you go into them? Oh, no, but I was in the corner. See, I was standing right there by the door when they had me. Cap. We got a lot of cappers. There was a lot of cappers back in the 80s. There was some cappers in the 70s, I'm sure. It sure was some cappers in the 90s. You see what Beeline did. What happened with Beeline, the Beeline controversy. Cap. Yeah, man, I got grand champion such and such and champion such and such. Oh, for real? Well, what the weight is on that? And when they got in there against the same hardcore grand champion 9 million that I talked about in the first case, toe out the frame, cap. But never mind what I think. What do you think? Is this real in the Bulldog community? Are we gonna ever rid this syndrome or plague out of the community? Or is it here to stay? It's always been here. It's always been a candy land. It's always gonna be a candy land. I'ma kill you, Django. Lord, give me the strength to get off this floor to kill this Django. Or is it something that we can get rid of? Please leave your comments. We're going to talk about this further if I'm able to go live. And for the case of the Dunning-Kruger effect, this case is now dismissed. Yeah. And now it's time for my closing monologue. Like I say every time, make your next move your best move, but move strategic like a chess move. Hey man, I don't know where y'all are in the country, but man, snowstorms coming back to back. Folks that ain't got snow in a decade, like in ATL, man, they getting snow now, man. Y'all, hey, do what you need to do. Scrawl. Everything you need up in them dog houses, man, to keep them dogs nice and cozy, man. to survive in this weather. This is your host, Get a Hope James, because we got to get a hold of the game. I'm out.